Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. Guys, I think it's an important question which we are going to ask, and believe me, we're going to ask the question not to the panelist only, to the audience as well. So if we can settle down. If we can please settle down. So I think my first question, not to the panelist, but to the audience, how many people sitting here believe that the Pakistan is ready for turnaround? Raise your hand, please. We have got very few. Okay. So, sorry? Yeah, if we can have a little silence there, guys. Okay, so, yeah, please, thank you. Thank you, guys. So going back to the original question, so how many people believe, I ask again, that Pakistan is ready for turnaround? Raise your hand. Okay. Thank you guys who have raised their hand. How many people believe they know how to turn around Pakistan? Okay, still very few. How many people want to see Pakistan turned around? Great, thank you. So there's a wishful thinking. There are people who believe it can, and there are people who know how, right? So this is the key question which we are going to explore. We want this turnaround. There are people who believe it can be done, and there are people in the room who know how. So I think that's where we will explore first thing. Dr. Amjad, what's your view when we are looking at Pakistan and the current state of economy and the business climate? Where do you see Pakistan as a current state, and what do you believe what we can do to turn around? And we are not talking about the 20-year, 30-year plan. We are talking about something which can be done as a top 1, 2, 3 things in the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you, Sajjeed. So I think if you go back a couple of years, in terms of our reserves, in terms of inflation and so on, interest rates, the direction was sort of going down. I think we are in a stability phase right now, where we're seeing that inflation is under control. Our external debt servicing payments have been made in time. And the current account deficit is pretty much, manageable now. The imports have been reduced significantly with the currency devaluation and so on. So in several measures we see a stability. We are not in a growth phase right now. And I think a lot of structural changes need to be made for us to move forward. And I think whereas the current account deficit is now manageable, the fiscal deficit still is around 7% or so. So in terms of broadening the tax base, in terms of reducing the size of the government, because what we have seen in the last 10, 15 years, whereas the revenues have grown very well, the government expenditures have also grown quite substantially. So the fiscal deficit has not come down. And what the need is that on the one hand, we need to increase our tax base, and on the other hand, we need to reduce the size of the government, okay? It has just grown substantially, both federal government and provincial government, and it's just not manageable. And one of the key component there is the fiscal support that is given by the government to the state-owned enterprises, which is about 1.6 trillion rupees per annum. So I think there's a need to privatize these state-owned enterprises and reduce the burden of the government. But I think on the expenditure side, especially in terms of our investment in human capital, I think that has been lacking for several decades. If you look at our school enrollment, about 45% children, or about 23 million children are not going to school at all. If you look at even those children who are going to school, especially government schools, the quality of education is very low. So about 75% of our children are either getting no education at all or getting very poor quality of education. And education is the foundation. Studies have shown that the single most important determinant of economic growth in the medium to long term is education. So if you look at countries like China, even, their secondary school enrollment go back 50 years was only like 25%, and today it's in the 90s%. Our secondary school enrollment is now 45%, whereas India and Bangladesh is 80%. So I think any plan to revive the economy has to start with investing in education. Studies have shown that $1 of investment in education increases the GDP of the country, the economy of the country by $20. Okay, so that's the value addition. One more critical factor which I believe has been ignored for a very long time is population planning. So our population has grown tremendously over the last 7 decades or so. So since 1971, whereas India and Bangladesh, the population growth rate has been about 1.7, 1.8%, ours has been 2.7%. And if we had grown our population at the same rate as India and Bangladesh, our population would not be 250 million, but something like about 160 million today. So 90 million less people to feed, to educate, to house, to provide jobs, to provide transportation. And when you have more people, the impact on the climate, the environment, all those issues come up. You do not have enough resources to educate them. And even if a small percentage of them move towards crime or militancy, it becomes very difficult to manage that. So I believe that education and population planning are two areas which have been long ignored. And we can talk all this high-tech, technology and all that, but if our people cannot read and write, technology is just a long shot.
Thank you, Dr. Sab. So I think the key message is the macroeconomic side. We are getting a stability for the next 2-3 years, short-term years. What we are looking at is the tax base, size of the government, and the privatization to really create that fiscal space. And where you suggested that should be invested in education and the population side. Population size is a very controversial area, so I would definitely ask some of the question and bring some of the audience there. There is a question raised earlier as well, the size of the population, like if you look at China and India and some other Indonesia, they have got the same size or a bigger size, but they have got a certain economic benefit they have taken there. So we will bring that kind of conversation later in the from the audience side as well and from the panelists as well. Ali, coming to you, you are recently #1 for thank you. Thank you very much for Ali writing those articles. I think that was a real pleasure to read those one, and the analysis you are bringing out is great. So bringing out that key question, is Pakistan ready for turnaround? And if yes, so which are the area we should be focusing on? Some of the area Dr. Amjad already raised. So what you going to add on that side?
Thank you, Sajjeed, for asking me this question, and I largely agree to the Dr. Saab. The thing is, with the macro indicators are pretty much he summed up on that. So the first thing on the macro side that we need to run primary fiscal surpluses for a few years, which is a painful process, and we ran a primary fiscal surplus last year, and we are in the process of having a surplus this year and expected to have a surplus next year. So because of that, we are having current account surplus, and right now the current account surplus for the March is posted at $1.2 billion. So that's there. Like so you got the numbers right in that way. Your inflation is down to 0.7% lately, and so the numbers are there, and they're telling you a story that the painful process of fiscal consolidation is having an impact on the macro indicators. But the problem is, what fiscal measures are we taking to do so? So we are taxing heavily, and we are taxing heavily a very small, pool of people or companies who are paying that, and it's a top rate at that. So that is not sustainable. So the informality is increasing. So the high taxes with low enforcement is a recipe for informal economy to grow, and that's what's happening in the past couple of years as well. So we need to change, we need to alter that, and running primary surplus is something important, but how to generate the revenues, that's a question. Expenditure, I mean, we have so much inefficient expenditure, but still our expenditure is not that high. So we need to figure out that puzzle as well, and how to broaden the tax net. And we've been listening to for the past 20, 30 years, that's not happening. And somehow this is there. But that's a macro story, that's a boring story. That's a story we've been hearing all that. And the population story and everything, we've been hearing all that. What important thing is this, that Pakistan has missed the boat of the globalization, the global value chains development, and this whole what happened in the past 40, 50 years. We've seen the rise of the East, we have seen the rise of the ASEAN countries, we have seen the rise, lately the rise of Vietnam and India and other countries, and Bangladesh to an extent, where they become part of the global value chains, and they're serving to the consumers of the first world, or the developed world. And that somehow Pakistan missed that, and no matter how much we work on, we couldn't catch up because there's so much to cover. But that world is changing. That world is changing, and America is accelerating the change under the Trump's administration, and the tariffs and all that, what the fiasco we've been hearing about, that's moving away from this globalization to the bilateral relationship and inward looking on that. So there's an opportunity for Pakistan. It's a challenge, it's a bigger challenge for those countries, those who have moved up the ladder based on those factors. For example, Vietnam, Bangladesh are two countries which comparable to Pakistan in an extent, and they moved up really depending much upon the US imports and allocation from China to other, and because of the low-cost resources in this globalized world. So they're going to suffer a lot going forward because the world is changing, and whatever the tariff eventually would come up, but the global trade will shrink, globalization will unwind a bit, and there's going to be a new world order. And so those countries who have moved up, they'll suffer. Those countries which fail to move up, there's an opportunity, because we can't go much beyond that. I mean, we couldn't bounce upon the opportunity what was there for the past 30 odd years. So what is going to have is something we are better ready to that, and we should be more ready for that. So that's an optimism I am having. That's how can you bring the change into this. Now, what is required to do beyond those the macro numbers and all that, what we all know what is required over there, is about something which talk about is about the education and educating the people. So, I mean, we know that we have like maybe 26 million kids out of the school. Then those within the school, maybe 60-70% can't read or write appropriately to the level, and so the level of education is very low and all that. And somehow we missed the boat on educating from the traditional ways, and those traditional ways are changing as well. And those traditional ways are changing, and the days which we are coming us where the skill set required are very different. And we need to uplift people based on the modern skill set, based on using the technology, leveraging the technology. That is to move away from brick and mortar model and all that. So that's an opportunity for Pakistan to work on those lines to do so. So what we need to do is we need to impart the right skill to the people, and there are different categories where we can do on that is that. One is where they are educated, they perhaps a graduate, or they're probably working and all that, but they could become a glorified clerk or something of that sort, which jobs are going to end and or not ended already. So that we need to impart certain skills which are aligned to the global place, and where services are there, so we need to impart, then we need to educate people beyond that, on that level, then we need to put our industry into order to cater, moving away from the economies which are going to suffer, and using the bilateral leverages to work on that. So those are the areas we need to work on that, and then doing so, so we perhaps move up on the ladder. So the thing is this, I mean, we can go on and I can talk about those macro factors and all those, and that, but perhaps the audience knows all that, and we all know the solution, and we know that the missing link is the political will within the system. It's not just the politician, the whole system. The whole system, bureaucracy, establishment, business community, and
thank you, Ali.
Is there,
Thank
so
you.
Just to finish on this, you know, we need to think beyond that. We need to look forward. What are the requirements going forward 10 years down the road? What kind of industries and which markets we need to see, and how we impart the education, we work on that. So those are the links which are required to be addressed, and I think Pakistan is better positioned to gear that up, because we are not going through a shock which other economies are. So that's somehow the optimism I'm leaving the thought with. Thank you.
No, great point. So align yourself with the global value chain, align education around that, and make sure we look at the patterns and start working towards that. And that brings us back to the very interesting question. To do that, we need investments, right? And I think one of a credit which we always give to us for the narrative these conferences and us for personally started building, we are seeing that being used in a different political and business environments at a different level. One thing which I think came out very, very strong is the term existing investor, domestic investor, what we are doing with the existing and domestic investor. And in a previous session, CP also raised the same point. When we look at the startup from Pakistan, we look at how the local and domestic investors are interacting with them in terms of business and investment side, and that's bring the confidence to attract FDI. So as for that, bring me back to the question which Amjad Saab raised, that if we get a fiscal space and invest in education, and Ali further elaborated that, align ourselves with the global value chain and then align our education, and all these things require investment. So how do you see the current state of investment, number one? What are the key opportunities exist out there, and specifically what is the opportunity exist for Pakistan to become a part of the regional play with Middle East, with China? How you see that, and specifically with Saudi?
Thank you, Sajjeed. Thank you for inviting me here. One thing is very consistent, my views on the investment landscape. Since last 3 years, I am saying 100% same story. And the scenario is also same. But actually, in my personal opinion, the scenario is not same in the last 3 years, but scenario is same since last overall 25 years. So there are two different tenures. One is from 1988 to 1999, where we experienced two governments each of PPP and PMLN. And one tenure is between 1999 till today, where we experienced one government each of PPP, PMLN and PTI, and also one military-led government by General Musharraf, as well as 4 caretaker governments. So this is the another government of PDM. This is PDM2. So in the last 37 years, from 1988 till today, 2025, Pakistan attracted $57 billion net FDI, which is actually per annum $1.55 billion. From 88 to 1999, we attracted only $5.4 billion, which is nothing for a country like Pakistan. So this was nothing, but from 1999 till today, we attracted around 51 point something billion dollar. So this is around $2 billion per annum. And this is our story since long, except 2006 and 7, where we attracted 5.3 and 5.4 billion dollars per annum. We attracted $2.8 billion in 2017-18, where Shahid Haqqan Abbasi was the Prime Minister. Otherwise, throughout all these 25 years, we are around 1.9 to 2.1. And this year also we are around 1.6, 1.765 billion dollar. So by the end of this fiscal year, I'm expecting the number will be around 2.1, 2.2. So this is our story since last 37 years. So this is my point number one. Number two is
And that we are talking about FDI, right?
I'm talking about the net FDI after all the outflows. And this is the State Bank of Pakistan number. For example, during the General Musharraf era, we attracted $18.9 billion. During the PPP tenure from 8 to 13, we attracted $9.8 billion. During the PMLN tenure from 13 to 18, we attracted around $10.3 billion. During the PTI tenure of 3.5 years, we attracted $7.7 billion. Then PDM1, we attracted $1.55 billion. During the caretaker government of Senator Anwar Kakar, we attracted $863 million during their 5 months tenure. And in the last fiscal year, we attracted around 1.65 billion dollars. So now 2 months left, so we are expecting 2.1 again. The story is same. So this is my point number one. Number two, we should understand that we are not a small European or an African or Middle Eastern or Far Eastern country. With a population of 250 million, as Dr. Amjad Waheed rightly said, we are world's 5th largest nation. So this is an opportunity as well as this is alarming situation as far as the Pakistani policies and the overall status are concerned. And I want to clarify that I'm here talking purely as a state of Pakistan. I'm not representing any government, I'm not representing any political party, I'm purely a practitioner and a technocrat. So this is the point too about our FDI numbers and also the population number. Number third point I want to raise that if we are doing the comparison with our surrounding regions, so for example, India attracted last year $49.7 billion as the net FDI. Indonesia attracted $47 billion. This was last fiscal year. Vietnam attracted $36.67 billion. Malaysia, Turkey are around $11-12 billion. The Central Asian countries are also raised significant FDI. Then Qatar attracted around $29 billion. Oman attracted around $50 billion last year. In these last 2 years, they are growing like very good. And then in the last fiscal year, 8 African countries' FDI numbers were better than us, including the Mozambique, Nairobi, Namibia, Somalia, Congo. So this is our status, and here is the point, if we are talking about the data, that the performance of almost all the governments, whether the military government, whether the civilian governments, the per annum FDI number is similar if we are talking about the tenure of one government. What is the root cause? The root cause is, as I said, that Pakistan is world's 5th largest nation. We can't manage or run, or we can't manage the progress of this country without a long-term plan, with ad hocism. In my opinion, there is no investment strategy till today. We are a classic example of firefighting, and we are a classic example of ad hocism. So this is one reason. Number two is the continuation of policies. As I mentioned yesterday, as I mentioned today also, that you are changing the federal secretaries, you are changing the officials in the public sector without any breaks. In last 10 years, you appointed 12 chairmen of FBR. You appointed 10 or 11 Federal Secretary Finance. You appointed 7-8 chairmen of Board of Investment. And this is the case of other ministries also. If someone is competent, a good secretary, performing good in any ministry, you are changing after 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. So this system is not working actually. So what is the need? There is a need to rethink about the overall infrastructure of investment and the economy. And there is a need to do a complete homework with a study of our surrounding regions where other countries are progressing. As I mentioned, that 8 small African countries' performance of investment were better than us. So this is actually a point where we should understand what they are doing, how they achieve the growth, how they are transforming their public sector, their government, their countries. For example, Central Asian country, you mentioned about this Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia invested $21 billion only in Uzbekistan in last 5 years. While in Pakistan, in last 15 years, Saudi Arabia NEFT FDI is around $500 million. So it's $500 million. All our other subsidies and, the support for the petrol and everything. So this is the case with all other countries of Middle East as well. So there is an opportunity in Saudi Arabia, as you asked. In my opinion, I always said that Riyadh is the most happening place today in the world as far as the business and economy is concerned. So their public investment fund size is $1 trillion. And by 2030, they will cross $2 trillion. And they are, I personally believe, as per my understanding, as per my direct interaction with their leadership, they are beyond serious to invest in Pakistan. There are 3 or 4 problems. One is our projects are not bankable. Number 2 is we are not facilitating their existing investors like Al Jumaih and many other investors. So here is a point that we should focus 80 to 90% on our existing investors. This includes your foreign investors already invested in Pakistan and also your Pakistani investors, the big boys, the medium-sized investors, and also the SMEs. Because if we are evaluating the top 10, top 15 FDI countries globally in last 10, 15, 20 years, one thing is uniform, one thing is common, that their existing investors created wealth, their existing investors are happy, and second stage is always to attract the FDI, to do the JVs and do the collaborations. So our need is I must say that there is a realization. In last 2-3 months, I am listening to the Prime Minister, SIFC officials, many other ministers. They all are emphasizing to support the existing investors. They all are saying one thing, that we should focus on our existing investors. They all are focusing that the private sector should lead the B2B movement. But there is a need to implement all these policies in a letter and a spirit. And also, as I mentioned earlier, there is a need of plan for 20-25 years long-term plan with guarantee of 10-12 years continuation of policies, with a legal backing, overall, less cost of your energy and many other things, good law and order situation and everything. And one more thing which is needed actually, that if we are studying all these countries I mentioned in the Middle East, because entire Middle East is growing, Central Asia, ASEAN, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, one thing is common in all these countries also, that they engage the subject experts in all the ministries, in all the public sector divisions. There is a need of collaboration amongst the civil bureaucracy and also the private sector practitioners and whole of government approach. So these are few points. Later I will highlight more points, but these are the fundamentals, the basics of our investment structure. $58 billion in 37 years is something not alarming. Alarming is actually a very, very decent word, because India attracted $49.7 billion only in the last fiscal year.
Thank you.
So here we are standing. We should see the picture in black and white. We should evaluate our balance sheet in black and white, like we are doing in our organizations. Only then we will be able to design a strategy, to plan a roadmap, a long-term roadmap for Pakistan. And I am optimistic that is still, despite all the challenges, there are several opportunities in Pakistan in every sector. But there is a need to understand the dynamics. Also, I want to highlight that SIFC is good to removing the roadblocks. This is a wonderful concept, because when I was part of the Board of Investment, my secretary Farina Mazhar is here, I was briefly worked with the Board of Investment. I always engaged the bureaucracy as well as the military. This is a wonderful concept for countries like Pakistan. So SIFC is a classic concept. I am one of the biggest ambassadors of SIFC concept. But their role is to facilitate and to remove the roadblocks.
Yep.
Same time, we should empower, we should revive and do the complete restructuring of the civilian Board of Investment. This is the actual answer. The collaboration is strong collaboration and joint hands of SIFC and Board of Investment with the competent teams from civil bureaucracy as well as the private sector. This is the only answer with the long-term plan.
No, thank you, Asfar. I think that the biggest point you brought out is the existing investor working as an advocate, having a system and consistency. That's an important element, and a long-term plan and a bankable projects. So now we would like to open the question from the audience, question and comments. Be very brief. Yeah, please, if you can bring mic this side. Yeah, lady in the front. We will come to you, Asma. We know that we have to provide you the front first.
The mic has reached to me, but I...
Asma, we will come to you again. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muniza Zafar, and first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on putting together such a remarkable event. And it was very rich in perspectives across issues like economy, finance, climate, data influx, technology. However, as a psychotherapist, Asfar Saab, I was just wondering, how can we begin to integrate more psychologically informed approaches into our national and organizational spaces and strategies and workplace cultures? Shouldn't the psychological impact of uncertainty and mental health be central to our conversations about the unknown?
Yes, this is important, I must say, and this is actually in Pakistan's scenario. No one knows that what will happen next year because the political uncertainty is here. And I must say that for an enabling environment, not only for investment and economy, but overall progress and development, the political stability in the country is very important. So we must engage all the political stakeholders, and we should engage everyone for the dialogue, for the sake of Pakistan. This is responsibility of the government, the military, as well as the opposition as well. Because my philosophy is, and my practice in the last 20-25 years is, that whoever is in the government, we should support, because this is Pakistan government. We should support someone, this is our political right, but we should follow the motto of Pakistan first. And here is a need, and this is a very important need for a unity amongst the nation. Because today, one of the key challenge for Pakistan, in my opinion, is the political polarization. The India scenario, if we are evaluating, if we are seeing the Bangladesh and many other countries, political scenario is bad with many countries. There are corruption and many other things. But one thing is important, that I never ever seen any Indian bashing India outside India. So we should also be a Pakistani first, and our political affiliations are always second. Trust me that all political parties are important, all political parties are respectable, all political leaders are respectable, but first is always and always your country. Your political affiliations and any other affiliations are second. So this is also important to collaborate, and this is of course the role of the government as well as the opposition, that for the sake of Pakistan, for 10, 12 big national issues, we should be united. We should be under one table to design the strategy for this country. We should do the politics, we should do the political campaigns, everything. But for the sake of country, we should collaborate for all these things, which is important for the progress of the country.
Thank you.
If there is a political stability, I believe that uncertainty will be reduced. So this is directly linked with the stability of the political environment in this country.
No, thank you, Asfar. I would request panelists to keep it very brief because we have got a lot of questions coming out. So, guys, yeah, please. We have got the mic here.
मैं मियां फजल इलाही डिप्लोमेटिक फोकस से बात कर रहा हूं आपसे। आपने तकरीबन 4 डिकेड की बात की है अनस्टेबिलिटी की। 4 डिकेड से पाकिस्तान में अनस्टेबिलिटी चल रही है, कभी 2 साल से, कभी 4 साल की, कभी 1.5 साल की, कभी 5 साल की। अपोजिशन और गवर्नमेंट कहीं भी मुतफिक नहीं नजर आते। आपके प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने जी हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने इन 15 माह में लातादाद दौरे किए हैं फॉरेन कंट्रीज के इन्वेस्टर को लाने के लिए। क्या वजह है कि अभी तक आपके पास इन्वेस्टर नहीं आ सके, सिर्फ वादे आ रहे हैं? इसके लिए आपकी क्या प्रपोजल है?
Okay, so who you want that question to answer? Yeah, I think इसमें कुछ तो उन्होंने already address किया है कि इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में जो हमारी average चल रही है $2.1 billion की net FDI की, इस साल भी we are going with that. So it's not that वादे हुए और वो हुए नहीं, लेकिन definitely we do agree that कि what we were expecting is not there yet. Anybody want to add there? Ali, you want to add there anything from our current interactions with the international investor or a bilateral investment side efforts?
I mean, बिल्कुल आपकी बात ठीक है जी कि investment कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं आ रही है, and why investment is not coming because we are not conducive for the investment. I mean, we are not competitive for that. We are not consistent with our policies. And that's been happening for past many years. Last time some good investment came, that was in Musharraf time. That's again, it was 2003 to 2007 when we got like $5-6 billion per annum of investment, and at that time when the GDP size was $150 billion. Now we have a GDP size of $350 billion and we get about $2 billion of investment. So it's getting minuscule and small and small. So unless we solve our issues of productivity or competitiveness, we won't see this investment. Like going to meet someone and say कि जी हम आ रहे हैं जी investment लाते हैं, इस तरह तो investment नहीं आती. We are a country which celebrate on getting the loan or IMF loan, be it was Imran Khan, be it Shehbaz Sharif or whoever. And what the lady over said is that a psychological thing we need to put on that. So the biggest psychological, issue that we have is like we are celebrating of getting on something like on bagging. So we need to get out the mindset. फिर investment आएगी जी.
No, thank you. So bankable project and readiness, please. We will come. Okay, so map. Ji, please.
You hear me?
Ji.
Yeah, okay. I am Sardar Sajjad. I am Managing Director of Bukhari Group of Companies and CEO of Tech GIS Private Limited. With great appreciation, of course, for Mr. Asfar Ahsan and his wonderful team for putting up such a beautiful Leaders Summit. My question, Mr. Asfar, you mentioned about the SIFC and, of course, what kind of a good efforts. But keeping in view the experience as the Minister Board of Investment, what do you think the efforts of these two organizations can be integrated in the forthcoming years? How do you visualize that? Thank you.
So the question is SIFC and BOI, how they can collaborate? Integrate. Okay, great.
I already recommended the integration between these two organizations.
So I think let me take 1 or 2 questions and then we address that. So the one question is SIFC and BOI integration. Asma, if we can have you as well. And can we have some question on that side, guys? Anybody, just raise your hand so I can get mic there.
So I need to introduce myself
Yeah,
again.
please.
Yeah, okay. So this is Sayyida Asma Indrawi, Donor Coordination Consultant with the Prime Minister, HNK. My question is with Mr. Asfar and
Yeah, please.
okay.
Please go ahead, Asma.
Okay. First and foremost, we all owe a tremendous gratitude to the Nutshell and all the partners who have assembled a remarkable blend of leaders over here. You've touched upon the economic, the social, the political, and the engineering aspects. My question is with Mr. Asfasa. What is the key takeaway from this wonderful summit that you have conducted? Priority key takeaway, and then what is a platform that we can stay connected to coordinate for the priority areas that you'll be identifying, and we can be helping you in that. So the key takeaway and any platform that we can stay connected and make a change.
No, thank you. Asfa, very briefly, if you can talk about integration. Sorry. Jeep. Okay. So can we get a question from there? There is another question. Yeah, there, the guy in white shirt.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sakhawat Hussain. First of all, excellent platform and excellent teaming up. We are discussing existing challenges and way forward. My question is, Azhar Saab has highlighted FDI, and we have all data. We have successful models of our neighboring countries. My question is, what are the key value propositions that we can make to attract investors, because Pakistan has a lot to offer. So top 3 key propositions can be devised on short-term, mid-term and long-term strategies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I think now we start addressing that. As far if I request you SIFC and BOI integration and the takeaway from the event, and I'm just up for you particularly the value proposition to attract investment we bring there.
So I already mentioned about SIFC and BOI. The restructuring and the empowerment of BOI is important. As I mentioned for our new guest, that in last 37 years, we attracted only $57 billion as the net FDI. And the last 25 years, we attracted only $51 billion FDI. So this is consistently, this is $2 billion. What is needed actually that SIFC should restrict their work for removing the roadblocks and red tapes, and some consultation and facilitation with the friendly countries. Otherwise, as I mentioned, that there is a need of collaboration between BOI and SIFC if we really want to attract investment. But before attracting investment, this is important to 90% focus on your existing investor.
And take away from this one today, the key topic from this entire...
This is up to the person to person.
Okay, thank you. I'm just value proposition. Ali, you want to add something on value proposition, and then we wrap up the session.
Well, I think to attract investment, whether domestic or foreign, I think the tax rates in Pakistan have become very phenomenal, totally out of line with our region and the rest of the world. Whether it's a personal tax rate, whether it's a salaried class, if you look at income of any documented company, 60 to 70% is going into corporate tax, super tax, sales tax, dividend tax, WWF, intercorporate tax. So when 60 to 70% of an income of a company is going to go into taxes, then how there will be capital formation, how that company is going to expand, how it's going to create job, okay, how it's going to grow the economy. So I think first of all, we need to bring tax rates, to a reasonable level. And I think I go back to the issue that the government size has to go down. And a lot of these, value propositions will come in if we are now willing to sell our state-owned enterprises, which are just causing losses of 1.6 trillion rupees per annum, and offer those to domestic and foreign investors to come in and revive them.
No, thank you.
In addition to this, as I mentioned that, for example, you talked about the Saudi Arabia. So in last 8-9 years, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is dealing with the 6th or 7th Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Yeah.
This is one basic issue. So without political stability, you can't build an enabling environment not only for the local investors, but also the foreign investors.
No, thank you.
Political stability is must. And as I mentioned, that you should engage all the political stakeholders of this country for one table, because without this unified approach, this progress is not possible. One more point I want to highlight here, that in the last few months, we listened too much about the $2.8 billion MOUs. And we not criticize, but we critically share our feedback that there is zero value of any MOU in today's business world. Everyone knows in the corporate sector. But there was a propaganda or there was a fake claim of $2.8 billion. There is no single investment out of these $2.8 billion MOUs finalized. And I'm sharing with you with complete responsibility that no single project is finalizing as far as the B2B concern from Saudi Arabia till today. So there is an opportunity of Recordake or one or two more projects, but there is no B2B investment is finalizing.
No, like,
So we should correct our narrative, and we should see the picture again in black and white. Without this correction, we can't progress. One more thing I want to share.
we are running out of time.
Now, Saudis are also very smart. Their Vision 2030 was extraordinarily ambitious. If you evaluate last fiscal year, they reduced the overall scope of Vision 2030.
Yeah.
This is a course correction. So if Pakistan or any government is wrong in some policies, they should correct. Course correction is very important. We should accept the mistake and we should correct the course.
No, thank you. Thank you. As for, Ali.
Yeah,
value
I mean,
proposition.
I agree with the Dr. Saab about the taxation. We need to rationalize the taxation, no doubt about that. And about about the saying that 6-7 prime minister, but we have 2 army chiefs in the past 6-7 years. So that kind of solved that issue.
That's
as
what
well.
matters.
So, but my thing is, adding to what Dr. Saab said, is about this. Is something getting back on that we attach a stigma to profit making. That's a problem with our people. I mean, and that's a problem with our people. And when our investors, the core investor, the domestic bid entrepreneurs, they go outside and they talk about the kind of maltreatment they have in various governments and stuff like that. I mean. So you got a problem over there. In 70s we did nationalization, then in 90s we started privatization, and now what we are doing is effectively doing something similar to what the nationalization. If you take the top businessmen of Pakistan, without taking names, the one in Lahore, one in Karachi, and all that, they don't want to live in Pakistan. They don't want to be a Pakistan resident. Why? And without respecting those who are making profit, who are bringing employment to Pakistan, you cannot attract new investment.
No.
That's it.
No, thank you very much, guys. A big round of applause for the panelists. And the bigger round of applause for the audience who has contributed and sent very good questions. Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So I think the best thing which my takeaway from this particular session is that everybody wants that turnaround. There are few people who know how to do that part, and there's a lot of contribution where the people would like to collaborate and really take those actions. So we know what to do. It's the matter of getting who is going to do that, when they're going to do that, and how we get to the execution part. You can start doing within your circle of influence what you can do, and I'm sure we can influence the overall narrative building from these forums and mobilize those things within the government and the policy maker. But the private sector has to also step up, and as an individual we also need to step up, and we make sure that we create a history, and history remember us somebody who made effort in a right direction and collectively. Guys, thank you very much.